Night on Ravith Prime was not quiet. It breathed, slow, heavy, and full of whispers. The jungle glowed faintly with strange blue plants, and deep inside that light something moved. Something alive but made of shadow. When the human ship Helios 9 crashed through the atmosphere, fire tore across the alien sky. Among the survivors was Ethan, a 16-year-old boy who had never left Earth before. His hands were bleeding, his lungs hurt, but he was alive. The ship was gone. The crew, missing. He stood alone under a sky with 2 moons and 1,000 unknown stars. Then he heard it, a cry soft, like a child calling for help. Ethan grabbed a metal rod from the wreck and followed the sound through the glowing forest. The trees bent toward him, their branches covered with blue dust that floated like snow. In a small clearing he saw her, a small, alien girl, her skin pale silver and eyes bright as crystal water. She looked scared and weak. "Are you okay?" Ethan whispered. She didn't speak his language but pointed behind him with shaking hands. Ethan turned slowly and froze. A shape was crawling out from the darkness. It had no eyes, no mouth, just long claws and a body made of living smoke. It was a shadow predator. The air turned cold. The creature hissed, soundless but full of hate. Ethan didn't think, he just acted. He stepped in front of the alien girl, holding his broken metal rod like a sword. The shadow moved fast and too fast. It slashed his arm, then bit deep into his shoulder. Pain burned through him like fire and ice together. The alien girl screamed, a strange echoing sound. Ethan swung his weapon wildly, striking the creature's head. Sparks flew. He hit again, this time grabbing a burning branch from the wreck. He jammed it into the shadow's chest, and the creature screamed without sound, melting into dark smoke. Then everything went quiet. Ethan fell to his knees. His arm throbbed. Black marks spread across his veins, glowing faintly. The alien girl ran to him, touching the wound. Her hands glowed blue. She spoke in her own language, but the fear in her eyes said everything. She couldn't stop the infection. The shadow had bitten him, and now it was inside him. Ethan gasped. "It's okay. I'm fine." But his voice trembled. He felt cold. The world around him began to move slower, darker. Then suddenly, the shadows around him stopped moving. The darkness itself seemed to wait. The alien girl stared. "You," she whispered softly, as if she understood something impossible. Because for one moment, the shadows obeyed him. His eyes flashed silver, and the black marks on his arm pulsed like veins of light and dark mixed together. The girl took his hand. "You saved me," she said in broken English. Lyra, Ethan," he replied before collapsing. When he woke again, he was in a shining alien city. The light was soft but everywhere. He saw strange figures around him, tall beings with crystal skin and long robes, and sitting on a high throne was someone who could only be the monarch of Ravath, Lyra's father. The monarch's voice echoed like thunder. "Human," he said. "You touched the curse and lived." Ethan tried to speak, but pain rushed through him. "You carry the mark of the shadow," the monarch continued. "No one survives their bite. Not even us," Lyra stepped forward. "He saved me. He killed one of them." The monarch's eyes widened. "A human killed a shadow predator?" Whispers filled the hall. The alien guards looked at Ethan with both fear and wonder. The monarch stood and looked down at him. "Perhaps the humans are not as weak as we thought." But even as Ethan tried to breathe, something dark whispered inside his mind. A cold, deep voice said, "You are ours now." And from the edge of the city, deep under the alien sky, the rest of the shadows began to stir. Ethan woke in a strange silver room. The walls were alive, moving slowly like breathing metal. Light came from the ceiling, soft and white. His shoulder still burned where the shadow had bitten him. Beside his bed stood Lyra, the alien princess he had saved. Her crystal blue eyes glowed faintly as she whispered, "You're safe now." But Ethan didn't feel safe. The air around him was cold. His veins pulsed black for a second before fading again. Something inside him moved, a whisper deep in his mind. Hunger, darkness, and obey. He clenched his fists. "No, I won't." Lyra touched a small orb near the bed. A holographic figure appeared, an alien doctor. "The infection resists all healing," the doctor said. "It changes him at the cellular level." The monarch entered the room. His presence filled it instantly. "Human," he said calmly. "You should not exist right now." The shadow venom kills even our strongest warriors. Yet you live. Ethan looked up at him, tired but firm. Maybe humans are just too stubborn to die. The monarch smiled slightly. Perhaps, but you are dangerous now. The darkness inside you could spread. My advisors say I should destroy you, Lyra gasped. Father, he saved me. He is not evil. The monarch's expression softened. Very well. He will stay under guard until we understand what he is. Days passed. Ethan trained his body again, trying to walk, trying to fight the sickness. But every time he grew angry or afraid, shadows gathered around him. They moved like smoke following his heartbeat. One night, Lyra entered his chamber secretly. You're changing, she whispered. I know, Ethan said quietly. Sometimes, I see things. Feel the dark watching me. It wants control. Lyra placed her hand over his. Then don't face it alone. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the palace. The ground shook. Guards shouted. Alarms echoed. Lyra ran to the window. A wave of black mist was rising from the forest. The shadow predators were coming. Ethan stood. The shadows inside him pulsed wildly, reacting to the danger outside. Stay here, a guard shouted. But Ethan grabbed the rod from beside his bed. No, this is my fight too. As the city walls lit with energy shields, Ethan stepped forward, his eyes flashing silver again. For the first time, he felt power, cold, heavy, and alive. The curse inside him was waking. And it was hungry for war. Outside the palace, chaos filled the air. The shadow predators had returned, dozens of them crawling like darkness made real. Their roars made the sky tremble. Alien soldiers fired blue plasma bolts, but the shadows simply absorbed the light. Panic spread. The city's protective dome began to flicker. Ethan ran through the corridors, Lyra close behind him. You can't fight them, she shouted. They can't be killed. I killed one before, Ethan said, gripping his rod tightly. I'll do it again. The monarch appeared at the command balcony, watching the destruction. Protect my daughter, he ordered, but Lyra refused to leave Ethan. He saved me. Now I save him. Outside the gates, a massive shadow predator, bigger than any seen before, burst from the mist. Its body twisted like smoke and lightning. The air turned cold as it roared. Ethan stepped forward. His heart beat faster. The shadows inside him answered the creature's call. The predator stopped, its eyeless face turning toward him. It recognized him. Half-blood, the voice echoed in Ethan's head. Join us or die, Ethan's vision blurred. Darkness pulled at him. His own shadow stretched long and alive, moving on its own. Lyra screamed, Ethan, fight it! He fell to his knees, shaking. The shadow inside tried to control him, tried to make him one of them. But then he remembered the crash, the fear, the people he couldn't save. He remembered choosing to protect, not destroy. He clenched his fists. I am human. The dark mist around him exploded. Half the battlefield froze, the shadows stopped moving. Ethan stood, eyes glowing like silver fire. The massive predator lunged, but Ethan met it head-on. His rod hit the creature, but this time his strike carried more than strength. It carried the shadow's own power, turned against itself. The predator screamed, dissolving into smoke. The other shadows trembled, and for the first time they feared. Lyra and the monarch watched in shock. The alien guards lowered their weapons slowly. The monarch whispered, He commands the darkness itself. When the last shadow faded, Ethan fell, weak but alive. Lyra ran to him. You did it, she said. Ethan smiled faintly. No, it's not over. They're scared now, and scared things always come back stronger. He looked at his black-veined arm. The darkness was quieter, but still there. Waiting, the monarch approached. You may be cursed, human, but perhaps that curse is exactly what our world needs. The sky glowed red as dawn rose over Raveth Prime. But in the deepest valley below, the shadows gathered again, this time with purpose, and somewhere within their darkness. A new voice whispered, cold and ancient, The Shadow King has awakened. The dawn after the battle was silent. The alien city of Vareth stood under a wounded sky, its towers cracked but still glowing faintly. Smoke rose from the lower streets and the air smelled like cold metal and ash. Ethan sat at the edge of a crystal balcony, his arm wrapped in glowing bandages. The black veins beneath his skin pulsed like faint lightning. Lyra sat beside him, quiet. You should rest, she said softly. Ethan shook his head. Every time I close my eyes, I see them. The shadows. Watching me, Lyra looked down at her hands. They won't stop. You hurt them. Now their master will come. Ethan turned to her. Their master? Lyra nodded slowly. The Shadow King, the first darkness. The one even my father fears. Before Ethan could speak, a distant tremor shook the ground. The balcony glass cracked. An alarm echoed through the city. The monarch appeared, his armor glowing gold. The Shadow King rises from the deep forest, he said grimly. The old prison has broken. We must prepare. Lyra stepped forward. Father, we can't fight him with light alone. The shadows devour it. The monarch looked at Ethan. Then perhaps the key is not light, but the one who carries both. Ethan stood confused. You mean me? I can't even control this thing inside me, the monarch replied. Then you must learn. The Shadow King commands darkness, but you are the bridge between worlds, between shadow and life. A council of alien elders entered the chamber. He's dangerous, one shouted. If the darkness inside him takes over, we'll lose everything. Ethan clenched his fists. I didn't ask for this, but I won't run away from it. Lyra smiled faintly. That's the human way. You fight even when it's hopeless. The monarch raised his staff. Then it is decided. The human will train with the ancient lightkeepers. We will prepare for war. Days passed. Ethan trained under the alien warriors, learning to focus his power. He stood in dark chambers surrounded by glowing runes, fighting to balance light and shadow inside him. At first, the darkness won, whispering, tempting him to destroy. But Lyra's voice always pulled him back. You're not alone, Ethan, she said during one long night. You're what we needed, a warrior who sees both sides. And as she spoke, something inside Ethan shifted. For the first time, the shadows didn't fight him. They listened. But far away, deep under the black mountains, the Shadow King opened his eyes. Two burning voids glowed in the dark. His voice rolled across the land like thunder. A human carries my power. Then I will take it back. The ground split. Rivers of darkness began crawling toward the alien city. The final war had begun. The world of Raveth Prime was falling into twilight. The Shadow King's armies spread across the planet like storms of living smoke. Every day, the alien defenses grew weaker. Inside the royal fortress, Ethan stood before the monarch and his council. His eyes were now silver mixed with black, a balance of light and shadow. The monarch said, Your connection to the shadows may be the only way to defeat him. But the power could also destroy you. Ethan looked calm. Then I'll take that chance. Lyra stepped closer. If you lose control, you'll become one of them, he nodded. Then you stop me, she shook her head. I can't, I won't. Outside thunder roared. The sky turned black as a massive storm formed over the city. The ground cracked, and from it rose dark figures, the Shadow King's generals. Ethan grabbed his weapon, now reforged by alien light, half silver, half dark metal. It hummed in his hand, alive. Stay behind me, he told Lyra. But Lyra didn't listen. She took out a glowing orb, a fragment of the planet's core. This is the heart of Raveth, she said. It can amplify your light, or burn you from inside. Ethan smiled faintly. Sounds perfect. They stepped outside together. The streets were filled with battle. Aliens firing plasma bolts, shadows tearing through walls. The air was chaos. Then the Shadow King appeared, rising from the ground like a mountain of black fire. His voice shook the sky. Little human, return what is mine. Ethan felt the darkness inside him answering the call. His body trembled. His breath turned cold. The shadows whispered, Join him. Become one. But then he heard Lyra's voice. Ethan, you are more than shadow. You are light too. He roared in pain, dropping to his knees. His veins glowed white and black together, fighting for control. The Shadow King laughed. You cannot fight your nature. Ethan stood, eyes burning. Watch me. He slammed the heart of Raveth into his chest. Light exploded through his body. The ground shattered. Half the city went dark. Half blazed like a sun. When the light cleared, Ethan stood transformed. Armor of shadow and light fused together, eyes glowing brighter than before. The Shadow King recoiled, hissing. Ethan raised his weapon. You wanted your power back? Come take it, and with that the final battle truly began. The battlefield burned with light and darkness. Half the city glowed silver. The other half drowned in black mist. Between them stood Ethan, neither human nor monster now. He was both. The Shadow King towered above him, a giant made of pure night, his form shifting like a storm of smoke. His voice echoed through the ruins. "You cannot win, boy. You are my creation." Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon, now pulsing with both white and black energy. "I'm not your creation," he said. "I'm the mistake you'll regret." They clashed. Each strike shook the air. Light exploded, shadows screamed. When Ethan's blade cut through the king's form, it didn't wound. It split him, scattering black fire that quickly reformed. The monarch watched from the tower, giving orders to his soldiers. "Hold the shields. Protect the core!" Lyra stood at the balcony, eyes filled with fear. "He can't win alone," she whispered. Down below, Ethan was fighting against something far greater than strength. He was fighting his own blood. Every blow made the darkness inside him grow stronger. Every scream from the Shadow King whispered temptation. "You are mine, Ethan, you always were." The voice twisted in his mind. He dropped to one knee. The shadows wrapped around his arm, crawling up his neck. "Stop fighting me," the king said. "Join me. Together we will consume the stars." Ethan's vision blurred. He saw Earth, his mother's smile, the blue sky, the fire from the crash. The faces of the dead flashed before him, and then he heard Lyra's voice echo from the tower. "Ethan, you saved me once. Save yourself now." Her words struck something deep inside him, something the shadows couldn't touch. He stood again, trembling but smiling. "You made one mistake," he said softly. "You gave your power to a human." Light exploded from his body, so bright it broke the clouds. The Shadow King roared, covering his face. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm. "I'm not your servant. I'm your end." He ran through the darkness, striking the king's chest. The weapon glowed brighter and brighter until it was almost white-hot. "Impossible," the king screamed. "You can't destroy darkness, it's eternal." Ethan shouted back, "Then I'll burn with it." The weapon pierced through the king's heart. A shockwave of light and shadow tore across the planet. Lyra screamed as the light swallowed everything. Then, silence. When the light faded, the battlefield was gone. Only ashes and broken towers remained. The dark clouds cleared, showing a calm sky filled with two moons again. Lyra woke among the ruins. Her body hurt, but she was alive. Around her, the soldiers of Ravath began to rise too, weak but breathing. She looked for Ethan. "Ethan!" She called again and again. No answer, then she saw it, at the center of the crater. A faint figure lying still, surrounded by dust that shimmered like stars. She ran to him. Ethan's armor had faded, his eyes closed. Black and white veins ran across his skin like a map of two worlds meeting. "Ethan," she whispered. "Wake up." For a moment nothing happened. Then his fingers moved. Slowly he opened his eyes. One silver, one dark. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. Lyra smiled through her tears. "Yes, the shadows are gone." He tried to sit up, but groaned. "I can still feel them." Whispering, "The Shadow King?" she asked. Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, just echoes, but I can control it now." The monarch approached, his armor cracked, his crown dimmed, but his eyes full of pride. "You saved my world, human. You brought balance where there was only chaos." Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess that makes me half hero, half monster." The monarch placed a hand on his shoulder. "It makes you both. And that is what saved us." As the sun rose, the city of Vareth began to rebuild. The alien banners of light waved again over the towers. But in the deepest corner of the forest, a small flicker of shadow still moved. Not evil this time, but gentle, curious. A reminder that darkness and light would always live together. Lyra stood beside Ethan at the edge of the city. "What will you do now?" she asked. He looked at the horizon. "Maybe I'll stay. Maybe I'll help rebuild. This place needs a guardian," she smiled. "Then the legend of the shadow-bitten human begins here." Ethan laughed softly. "A human saving an alien world? Who would believe that?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. "Everyone will, because they saw it with their own eyes." The wind blew gently, carrying the first true peace Ravath had known in centuries. Ethan looked toward the twin moons and whispered, "Maybe even shadows can find the light." And with that, the story of the shadow-bitten human ended. But his legend had just begun.